Thank you, Speaker. I stand to oppose. Mr. Speaker, it is very hard, and I rarely oppose things on this side of the House. For me to support something with this kind of interview results, I want to believe that in this country there is something called meritocracy. And the reason why we take long interviews, well-taught interviews, is so that we can get to a position where people who are qualified can be picked. If you look at the result of this interview, Mr. Speaker, with all honesty, all the people who took number 1 were not given the job. I can understand that we can create some deviations based on judgment of the appointing authority. But I don't understand anywhere in the world where everybody who became number 1 is not being given the job. What is the purpose and what is the reason of us interviewing these people, wasting their valuable time? For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I think there is something sinister, other than the people who have been picked here to work, other than the qualification. There was something inside that was being worked out, and Mr. Speaker, I will always oppose as a Kenyan. Mr. Speaker, if you look at these interview results, they reflect everything from the marks gained to things that I did not even imagine that they appear on result slip, like the tribe you come from. That to me would speak volumes for every Kenyan in this country. Mr. Speaker, we are talking of affirmative action, and I want those loud voices of affirmative action today in this House in our country to hear this. Affirmative action is not only about gender versus gender. It is about minorities, it's about the youth, it's about everything else that is a disadvantage. Mr. Speaker, I want us to reflect on this. Somebody said here that she's a village girl and she is very proud of those backgrounds. And I am proud too. I'm very proud of those backgrounds myself. But let me tell you, for you to think of humble backgrounds coming from central Kenya, the humble background of Samburu is way humble background than what you have. Mr. Speaker, how does, just take a step back and think, how long does it take a Samburu from herding cows to come up, get employed in central bank at the lowest position possible, rise through the ranks all his life to become the Deputy Central Bank of Kenya, and with the retirement of the governor, taking over as the acting governor? And Mr. Speaker, Investor Magazine, Bloomberg, the most reputable investor magazine in the world, voted Haron Lesrima as the best to take over the Central Bank of Kenya. He went to the interviews and he became number 1 in the whole Republic of Kenya. I'm truly proud to be a Samburu today. But I feel bad being a Kenyan, so proud and so patriot, that having done all that, having risen from the humblest of backgrounds, through all the ranks of the Central Bank of Kenya, he had all the qualifications of PhD and everything else, and even became number 1 in the interview, and he was voted the best by the best investor magazine in the world. Still, the only qualification that could not put him to be the governor of the Central Bank of Kenya is being a Samburu. And I just wish that we would have been a little bit sensitive to ourselves, that we don't put a Samburu name here, would have left Haron Lesrima as Dr. Haron Lesrima and nothing Samburu, because we are shaming ourselves by having Haron Lesrima putting a Samburu in the resource slip and not giving him this job. Mr. Speaker, I will still remain a patriotic Kenyan, but today there is something I've seen that is different, because I've seen that there is a natural ceiling. Let me finish, Mr. Speaker. There is a natural ceiling for people who come from small tribes in this country. And that natural ceiling, Mr. Speaker,
your time is over anyway.
If human beings will not see, God the Almighty will see. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.